Welcome everybody to Find It, Fund It for Nonprofits. This class will be a little different because normally we are teaching this at the library and we are using the Foundation Center database professional, and that's only accessible in the library. So what the Foundation Center has done for everyone is rolled out the Foundation database essential level, and that's the basic level, which gives you a really good start, and they've given everyone access to that from home. So we're going to be talking about the Foundation database essential, and we'll just be going through that, and we'll let you know when we get to a stopping point, that you can email the reference desk or call us at the library and we can give you more information. So to get there, you go to the homepage of the library, which is just www.faylib.org. Go over to For You on the dark blue bar that runs across the screen. If you click on nonprofits and roll down, the very first thing you'll see is a big box with our Credleys, they call them Credleys. Just proves that we actually trained to use the database. Search for grant opportunities from home, temporary at-home access here, Foundation Directory Online, essential level, right there. So we used to tell people go straight to the advanced search and filters and start narrowing down, but after the last training session that we went to, we do it a little bit differently. A tiny bit of background: the Foundation Center was established in the 50s, mid-50s. They promote philanthropy as an engine for positive social change. And at the most basic level, what they really do is connect nonprofits and grant makers to resources that can help them succeed. So recently, the Foundation Center merged with GuideStar and became Candid, which is why you'll start seeing Candid on everything. And whereas before you saw Foundation Center, you might see Candid. Let's see. And if you are not already familiar with GuideStar, that is an information service that specializes in reporting on US nonprofit companies. So people would typically, before they had access to this database, they would go to GuideStar to look at 990 tax reports from nonprofits. And like I said, this database is available on all the public computers in the library. So it does have to be used in-house typically. And we're not letting people use computers right now because common touch points are kind of barred because of COVID. So it's offered to you from home, but it is at an essential level. When we are back up to computer use again and you can come into the building, we do offer free library cards to staff and board members of nonprofit organizations in Washington, Benton, Carroll, and Madison County. So you can get a free card, even if you live outside the limits of getting a free card normally. You just need to bring in something that proves you work for or at a nonprofit, and you can get a free library card. So I showed you how to get there, and you can look, if you scroll to the bottom of the page, if you're interested, you can click on this little data sources link, and that shows you where the Foundation Directory pulls information from, mostly 990s. And individual funders who choose to share information, and also usaspending.gov, and some news and press releases, but mostly 990s. This directory is updated daily, which is why we have to go through and we have to run this class again every time we get ready to present it again, because the numbers will change. We had a rate of grant makers drop drastically on one of the searches we're doing today from the last time we used it. It dropped a lot. So we used to encourage people to use the advanced search and filters straight away, and we've kind of changed our way of thinking. And we're having people use this box that looks like a Google keyword search box And if you do this, then the grant makers will be searched using just the words you typed in. So for example, food pantry in Arkansas. The last time we did this class, it was 137 grant makers. Now it's 104. So that's why we have to check. They do update it regularly and it will change.
Just a quick note with that one too. I think with the switch to essential, we're missing out on some of the funders that were included in professional. So I think that might also account for some of the grant makers going under.
Yeah, because that is a really huge drop. Usually it'll be a drop of maybe 5 to 10 and not a drop of 30.
Yeah, because essential doesn't include U.S. federal agencies, state and local government funders, grant-making public charities, international funders, or corporate funders.
Mm-hmm. I imagine the corporate funder is what's making it drop.
Yeah, probably a lot.
I mean, we still have Walmart and all that, but that's not technically, they have a corporate foundation, but the one we're looking at isn't.
Yeah, isn't corporate.
Okay, let's see. Typically the grant makers and the grants and the grant recipients are all lined up here and they're color coded, but we do not see those at the essential level. So I'll just go on to show you how this works because this is what you'll be working with at the moment. If you click on the advanced search, you'll see how it found all these words at the top based on what we typed into the keyword box. These are the search terms it drew: food banks, nutrition, and Arkansas. And when you're searching these, this advanced search option, it will show, I'm actually gonna clear, show how this works. If you do click on any of these boxes in the advanced search option, it shows all the categories broken down into subcategories, sub-subcategories, and sometimes sub-sub-sub-categories. So every place you see a down arrow means that there are more categories or more subcategories like this. So the way to get the search terms we just saw, if you go down to human services, and there's a little down arrow, so click on that. Scroll down to basic and emergency aid, food aid, food banks. And then I think they had nutrition on there also. So that is under, let's see, health, public health, and under physical fitness and nutrition. So that's kind of an odd way to get those terms, but that's just what they pulled for us based on our keyword search. It works though. And then geographic focus is going to be where you are, not where the money is going. So it's pretty much always going to be Arkansas for us. And you can search a more narrow way down to counties and things like that. You may not get as many results in your search just because the grant maker profile might have just said Arkansas and it doesn't list any counties or metropolitan areas or things like that. So safer to just go with Arkansas. Okay, let's see. Showing results for these words that we found and they gave to us. This time we have 225, and that's just me typing in those search terms. So it morphs just a little bit. I just want to show you one of the foundation profiles. Walmart Foundation has a good one. This just kind of shows you when you do, if you do pick a funder, actually getting from choosing the funder to finding out how to apply can be a trail. I just want to sort of show you how that works. Let's see. this little menu makes it a little bit easier for everybody. Always go down here to applications first, because that's where their giving limitations are. And that shows you, giving on a national basis, an area of company operations, no support for, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what you should typically click on first, just to make sure you're not out of their giving limitations. This little other funders to consider has ended up being pretty valuable to us. That just shows you some other funders that have similar giving patterns to the funder that you are looking at the moment. They might not come up in your search for funders because they don't really give to the same things you typed into the keyword box, but they do have a similar giving pattern. So you might check these out if you run dry on some of the other funders. It might be worth it. Let's see, let me go back here to applications. This will also tell you the initial approach for asking for your money. In this case, you complete an online application for Northwest Arkansas Giving Program and Community Grant Program, online letter of inquiry, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're going to have to complete an online application first, you would just go to their website first of all. That is typically in their contact information. Right down here, their webpage, and you'll go to, let's see, how we give, and click on grant eligibility. And this one, you scroll all the way down here to the bottom of the page, click on apply here, and their available grants will be listed. They did tell you which ones to apply for first. This one in particular. So this is a little bit confusing. You actually go here to the little box and click on the one you want, Northwest Arkansas Giving Program, and submit. And then that will start taking you through a little question and answer session to find out if you're even qualified to receive this grant. It's just important to do this kind of prelim research so you can see if your nonprofit even fits the eligibility requirements before you spend a lot of time on your proposal. It'll just ask you a few questions. I've tried it a few times. I usually get cut off at some point. We don't fund that, so I move on. And if we are talking about a food bank, we would not be requesting funding for individuals or individual anything or religious organizations, so no. Larger than $10,000, I would say no, that's really a large amount for a first-time ask. So then, yeah, the Northwest Arkansas Giving Program only provides funding for requests larger than $10,000. So just an example, I will quit out of that. Let's see. Uh-oh. Oh no, here we go. So we're back in the grant maker profile. If we go up here to the top, there's a little, I'm trying not to make everybody sick. I'm trying not to scroll too quickly, so sorry if I am. If you go up to this little tools menu, it shows you your options for transmitting this document in PDF form. You can download it as a PDF and save it to print, and you can email it. Typically, people will email this as a PDF. PDFs translate everywhere, so let's see. I also wanted to point out at the bottom of the page, sorry, I'm going to try not to make you sick again. Very bottom of the page, it will tell you what type of foundation you are looking at. In this case, company sponsored. You would think it would be a corporate foundation, but this particular one is not. It is company sponsored. Okay, back up to the top. Try to roll slowly. Okay, there's a little breadcrumb trail here at the top. So you don't have to keep like clicking your back button and getting out of everything and all that stuff. you can just go back one, Grantmaker search results, and we'll be back where we started at the beginning before we clicked into the Walmart Foundation. I did want to do one more thing on the advanced search. Let's see. One more box, just to show you how particular some of the wording is in the Grantmaker profiles as to what they fund. They will give one item or entity several different names. So just for example, I'm going to go to population served. And go to social and economic status. And then if I go to economically, oh, come here. There we go. Economically disadvantaged people. Okay, that's low income. So in some cases, you know, extremely poor people, homeless people, low income people, and working poor. Depending on what a grant maker has put in their profile as to populations that they fund or causes that they fund, they will use different wording. So the Foundation Center database tries to kind of draw from all the different things that grant makers will call certain populations or certain types of funding. So just an example, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different ways to say lower income. And I did want to point out also, when we get down here, some of these have a little question mark next to them and it tells you what they mean, but total assets, that is just the amount of a grant maker's capital, money, stocks, bonds, real estate, capital that is invested, and the resulting income from those investments is what they use to fund grants. Total giving, it does have a little question mark. You can hover on that mark and it will give you a little box that tells you exactly what is considered total giving in this database. Total dollars distributed by the organization as reported on their last 990 tax form. Amount funded in this case, ooh, that's getting jittery. I'm not going to pause on that question mark. I'll just tell you. The amount funded here is the amount funded based on our search criteria. So based on, you know, food banks in Arkansas, food pantry in Arkansas, or based on search terms like nutrition and food banks, that is the average amount that is funded by these different, average amount of money that these foundations have given to nonprofits who are funding this particular type of cause, food banks. Typically, the top 10, the first 10 grant makers that you see have funded food banks or whatever your cause is, have funded this the most. So you'll see the highest amounts of dollars for about the first 10. And since they have funded this particular entity the most, you probably have your best luck first looking within the top 10 grant makers that you see. And typically, after this, we could go on to show you grants and grant recipients. That is something that is not shown at the essential level, that is at the professional level. So if you do find a certain funder that you want to look at, and if you do, just for example, since we've already looked at it, if you do look at the Walmart Foundation and you find out, hey, I do, you know, I meet the criteria, I'm within the giving limitations, and I fill out the questionnaires for grants and it all works. If you do want to look at some of their past grants or grant recipients, you can contact the library, you can call the reference desk, and they can either pass you on to Cassidy and I, or they can give you our email addresses. That's typically the best way to contact us. If you want us to do a little more searching, just contact the reference desk and they will pass you on to us, and we can look at the grants and other grants that the Walmart Foundation has given and then grant recipients that received grants for this type of thing, a food bank, these type of search terms. And the value in searching those grant recipients, if you can find others, find an entity that's similar to your nonprofit, and then you can see who is funding them or who has funded them in the past. That's another avenue you can take if you do submit to the Walmart Foundation and they reject you. Of course, you're not going to just, submit one proposal, but if you keep striking out, a lot of the time, if you look at some of the other grant recipients, you can find an entity, a nonprofit similar to yours, and see who's funded them and maybe reach out to those funders. And that might net you a few more search results. You might find a good fit. So I think I'm going to turn it over to Cassidy. She's got a little bit more searching to do with you. So Cass,
Hey,
can you take over screen sharing?
I should be able to. Let me see. So if you want to continue, screen share the screen.
There we go.
Seeing everything right?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so the one thing that I'm gonna focus on today pretty hard is the difference between the find funding box using the advanced search filters. Let me go back in here. And we found a couple challenging searches that we've had to do before. One of them is looking for funding for a Seventh-day Adventist school. We have found that there are a lot of grant makers that do limit their grant they're giving to non-religious entities. So if you do have kind of something that excludes you from a lot of grant makers, it's good to make sure that you put it in the search. So let's go ahead and get just straight to this advanced search. What I'm going to do, so we're going to put in, since I just said that we're excluding, that we have an exclusionary aspect, let's make sure we get that in there. So Seventh-day Adventist should be under questions. So all I am seeing, I'm not seeing any Seventh-day Adventist, so I'm just going to do the overarching subject. And of course, I'm going to put in Arkansas. And it is always good to click on the actual pre-populated things here, because if you just type in and leave it, it won't recognize it as one of the keywords. It has to be highlighted purple. Okay, and for the subject area, we're going to look for education. But I mean, look at all these awesome. Let's see if it can fit in anywhere else. Science, religion, public affairs. Because it could fit in public affairs, but let's do education. And then we're going to do, let's look at elementary and secondary education. These are a little too specific for me, so again, I'm going to do the overarching. Okay. And so I'm going to press search and see what we find. Okay, 119. And that's with these three things. Okay, so let's go back to review it again. 119. We're going to clear this all. And then we're going to go back and just put it in like as if it were a Google search. So we're going to be just putting the 7th. Then search. And so look, we got 1,300. And let's see what they picked out. They didn't include the religious aspect. So in a lot of different searches, it's always good to either to play around with the find funding box and this advanced search. I'm going to do one more to compare. So the next one we're going to do is actually one that is challenging to find as well. It's looking for funding to start a small business in Arkansas. So for subject area, small business, arts and culture, community and economic, education, environment, religion. Okay, that's definitely community and economic. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna pick business and industry. Oh, they even got one for entrepreneurship. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna do that. And of course, I'm gonna put in Arkansas and click on this guy. Make sure it's highlighted purple. Okay. And then geographic focus, Arkansas and entrepreneurship. I think that should be it. And let's do that. 28 grant makers. It's still a good number, but let's see what happens when we do find funding. Small business development. $23. And what they picked out, microfinance, entrepreneurship, business promotion. So, and you can also pick and choose what we want to get rid of here. So microfinance, I don't know if I want to include that. Let's go ahead and search again. Okay, so overall, this is very liquid. You can just poke around with it, play it, make it as custom as you need to for your search. The next thing I'm going to show you is this box that you might have seen a couple times, but we haven't really used, support strategy. So what we're going to be searching for using support strategy is air conditioning for senior housing in Arkansas. This is very specific, and a lot of the times you might not find what you need under subject area. I mean, community and economic development, maybe community improvement, but it's really for a specific group. It's not for the entire community. So let's go, and of course I'm going to put in Arkansas. Okay, and for population served, we're going to put in the age group. Let's do seniors. Okay, and so now we're going to try to look at support strategies, see what we can find here. So there's capacity building, look at all these options. Individual development, leadership and professional development, even participatory grant making, that's great. Okay, but we're looking for housing stuff. So capital infrastructure. Okay, I see building renovations. I see all of this. Facilities maintenance. Let's go ahead and do that one. That one sounds the most like what we need in getting an air conditioner in senior housing. Okay, so let's search. Whoa, okay, we definitely need more results than that. That's not going to give us much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out seniors, because if they're going to help seniors, they'll probably help most other people as well. And so we're going to keep facilities maintenance. 4 grant makers. That's not much to look at. Let's see what we can change. Okay. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to open these up a little bit. So seniors, older adults. That widens that. Okay, and for facilities maintenance, let's just take that one off. And let's do the main heading of capital and infrastructure. And see what we get there. Okay. Seems like a good amount. So overall, just keep playing and looking at these different boxes, putting in what you can, and doing the best you can. The next thing that I'm going to show you is a new feature that we got with the recent upgrade. So I'm going to look up I'm going to open up the advanced search. So what this has, the new feature has done, as you see this match any and match all right here. So if you choose match any, then if in the profile of the grant maker, if it lists any of the individual keywords, any of them, meaning if it just matches one, it's going to pull up. If you do match all, then it is going to have to pull up, it's going to have to find grant maker profiles with equestrianism and animal therapy on there. So that's just a way to make your search much more specific and make sure that the profiles you're looking at are definitely geared to funding your mission a lot more. So I thought that was pretty neat. Oh, I lied. I have one last thing. We're going to go into advanced search. The one thing about these being so specific and that you have to click the keywords that they put in is that it can be hard to find certain organizations, certain grant makers, certain things you know exist. So let me see, I know Blue and you. Well, first let's try typing it into organization name. Blue and seeing if it'll recognize it. Okay, nope. Let's see what it pulls up with that. Oh, okay. It's because we didn't put the ampersand. So if you're ever getting so frustrated at this and about to like bang your head on the computer, try keyword and it might save you. And if anything, if you have any issues navigating this database, Kelly and I and a lot of the reference team are very good at helping people through this. So do not hesitate to reach out if you hit any sort of bumps.
I had one more thing I forgot to add.
Take
So
over the screen.
I'm going to share, I'm going to screen share, look out. Uh-oh, come here, you. Here we go. Okay, one thing I wanted to mention, I forgot to mention this. In the Walmart, or no, in our first search that we did for food banks, and we get the list of grant makers, there's a little box here that says exclude grant makers not accepting applications. We used to always check that, and it would cut out a few because you find somebody that you really like and you read their profile and they're like, we only, we're not accepting unsolicited applications. Bummer. So we used to tell people to always check this exclude grant makers not accepting applications box, and then it's just going to save you some time, Oh no. I lost us. We're gone. No, we're not. I'm going back in. Let me go back to where I was.
Now we know that you can't log in 2 browsers.
Right. I've got about 18 windows open. That's probably, Okay. As I was saying, you would click on this and you would exclude everybody who was not accepting unsolicited funding applications. But we did a little more training and they were really suggesting not to check this because if you do find a foundation or a funder that fits your mission and it seems like a perfect fit, and they're not taking applications, you can always see if you know anyone who is working for this foundation in any way, shape, or form, and just tell them, hey, I know you're not accepting unsolicited proposals right now, but I know that you, for the next few years, you're going to focus on funding animal shelters. And I have to tell you, my foundation just got 501c3 status, and we are all about, working with the Humane Society. So can I submit a proposal? So anyway, if you look at this who's who in the grantmaker profile, you can see some of their officers and directors and staff members. And there might be someone that that you could just, email and say, hey, because I know that you want to fund what I've just started working on, can we send you an email? Can we call you? Typically there'll be, there might be a friend of a friend, or maybe I know there's somebody here who our children go to the same school, one of the same schools in Fayetteville. So I would just say, I would just email her and say, hey, I know you're not taking unsolicited applications right here, but I have to tell you, blah, blah, blah. Can we get a meeting? Can we get an email? So it's always good to look at this who's who. If there's a foundation that you really, really like, and you think would be a good fit, see if you know anyone, any of the officers, any of the board members, any of the donors, anything. And it's worth asking them if you can get some kind of a meeting by phone or email or something like that. So that is why we don't click on the unsolicited applications button anymore. Oh, let me go back here. There we go. I forgot how to use the breadcrumb trail I just taught you, or told you to use a minute ago. Yeah, you don't need to check this anymore. Just go ahead and leave it. And that way you'll get maybe a few more options. And if you find somebody that you really like, see if there's anyone involved with that foundation that you know. And then maybe you can talk your way into getting a meeting. So I don't know, Cass, do we have anything else?
I don't think so. I think that we got the full run of it.
And again,
if anyone was wanting to do any sample searches,
oh yeah, just type it in the chat.
Let us know what you're thinking about, and we can try to do a little search for you. And if not, if you feel you are good and comfortable with this, feel free to go ahead and enjoy the rest of your evening as well. We're not going to keep you here if you're feeling good.
If you do have any questions, just call the library, ask for the reference desk, and then tell them that you want some searches done in the Foundation Directory Online Professional database, and they will pass you on to Cassidy or myself, and we'll help you out.
And that way you can get access to, just to reiterate, you get access to recipients of grants and records of grants, so that you could look and try to find out who's funding organizations like you. And
it's always helpful to look at grants and grant amounts, and maybe just get an idea, especially if you're just starting out and this is all new to you.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and we hope you learned something. And feel free to contact the reference desk, and we will help you out. And hopefully we will see you in a Find It, Fund It class live sometime in 2021, I hope.
Yes, hoping so. And thank you all for all of the great work that you guys are doing through this pandemic. We greatly appreciate you.
We really do. And thank you for still coming in and using the library and calling us up and contacting us on our webpage and through our email.
Yeah, stay engaged with us. We miss ya.
And stay safe. See you guys later.
Bye, everyone.